The discovery the morning mist hung thick over the Amazon rainforest as Marine Lieutenant Alana Rodriguez checked her equipment one final time. Her squad was conducting what should have been a routine environmental monitoring mission, but the readings on her scanner were anything but routine. Strange energy signatures pulsed through the ancient trees. Unlike anything in their databases, Elena had been in the Marines for 8 years, serving in conflicts across 3 continents. She had seen enough unusual situations to trust her instincts. And right now, every instinct screamed that something was wrong. The energy readings were artificial, definitely not natural phenomena. They seemed to follow patterns, almost like communication signals. Her team consisted of 4 other Marines, each handpicked for their skills and loyalty. Sergeant Marcus Chun handled communications and electronics. Corporal Janet Williams was their medic and biochemical specialist. Private Danny Foster served as their heavy weapons expert, while Private Lessa Park was their reconnaissance specialist. They had worked together for 3 years, forming a bond stronger than family. The scanner in Elena's hands beeped urgently as they approached a small clearing. The energy readings spiked dramatically, nearly overwhelming the sensitive equipment. Through the dense vegetation, she could see something that made her blood run cold. A metallic structure, clearly not of human origin, jutted from the forest floor like a wound in the earth. Elena raised her hand, signaling her team to halt. They took defensive positions around the perimeter while she studied the structure through her binoculars. The metal surface seemed to shift and change color, adapting to the surrounding environment. Advanced camouflage technology, far beyond anything humanity possessed. A weak voice called out from near the structure, speaking in accented English. The words were barely audible above the forest sounds, but Elena caught enough to understand it was a plea for help. Against her better judgment, she decided to investigate. Human lives might be at stake. What she found changed everything she thought she knew about the world. Near the base of the alien structure lay a being that looked almost human, but was clearly something else. Its skin had a slight blue tint, and its eyes were larger than normal human proportions. Most disturbing of all, the creature was badly wounded, with strange burns covering much of its body. It wore clothing that seemed to be made from the same adaptive material as the structure. The being looked up at Elena with eyes full of pain and desperation. When it spoke, its voice carried an odd resonance that seemed to come from somewhere other than its throat. The accent was strange, as if English was a language it had learned but never naturally spoken. "Please," the creature gasped, "you must listen. My name is Crix. I was part of their program, but I could not continue. They will kill me for what I am about to tell you." Elena kept her weapon ready, but knelt beside the wounded being. Her medical training told her that whatever Crix was, he was dying. The burns on his body were unlike anything she had seen, as if he had been struck by some form of energy weapon. "What program?" Elena asked carefully. "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" Crix struggled to sit up, his breathing labored. "Your world has been occupied for over 400 years. We call ourselves the Zenith Council, and we have been living among you, watching you, controlling you. My people are called mimics because we can take the shape of any human we study." The implications of his words hit Elena like a physical blow. If what he was saying was true, then everything humans thought they knew about their own history was a lie. The idea that aliens had been living among them for centuries, disguised as humans, was almost too overwhelming to process. "Why are you telling me this?" Elena demanded. "If you're one of them, why would you betray your own kind?" Crix reached into his clothing and pulled out a device that looked like a crystalline cube, about the size of a smartphone. The cube pulsed with internal light, creating patterns that seemed to respond to his touch. When he handed it to Elena, she felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the device was scanning her. "Because I have lived among humans for 30 years, Crix explained, his voice growing weaker. "I was assigned to monitor your military developments, to identify humans who might pose a threat to our control. But something happened that the Council never expected." Elena examined the device carefully. Despite its alien origin, it felt comfortable in her hands, almost familiar. The patterns of light seemed to form symbols that she could somehow understand, even though she had never seen them before. "What happened?" she asked, though part of her already suspected the answer. "I began to care about humans," Crix admitted. "I watched you fight for each other, sacrifice for strangers, never give up even when facing impossible odds. My people see you as primitive and dangerous, but I learned to see you as something wonderful. You have something we lost long ago." "What's that?" "Hope." Crix coughed, and Elena noticed that his blood was a strange silver color. Whatever he was, his biology was definitely not human. But his pain and desperation were emotions she recognized and understood. "The device I gave you is a quantum resonance detector," Crix continued. "It can identify any mimic, no matter how perfect their human disguise. The quantum signature of our true forms cannot be hidden from this technology." Elena activated the device, following what seemed like instinctive knowledge of how it worked. Immediately, the device began scanning the area around them. To her relief, it showed that her team members were all genuinely human. But as she expanded the scan range, she detected multiple alien signatures scattered throughout the region. "How many of you are there?" Elena asked. "On Earth?" "Over 3,000 mimics in positions of power around the world. Politicians, military leaders, scientists, business executives. We have been guiding human development for centuries, making sure you never advance too quickly." The scope of the infiltration was staggering. Elena thought about all the times in human history when promising scientific research had been mysteriously defunded, when brilliant inventors had died in suspicious accidents, when political leaders had made decisions that seemed to go against human interests. How much of human history had been shaped by alien manipulation? "But that's not the worst part," Crix continued, his voice now barely a whisper. "The Council has grown impatient. They believe humans are becoming too unpredictable, too dangerous to control. They have voted to implement the final protocol." Asterisk. What is the final protocol? Complete elimination of the human species. They plan to release a biological weapon that will kill every human on Earth within 30 days. Then they will repopulate the planet with a species more suited to their purposes. Elena felt a cold rage building in her chest. The idea that alien species had been secretly controlling humanity was outrageous enough. But to learn that they planned to commit genocide against the entire human race was beyond comprehension. "When?" she demanded. "The countdown began 3 days ago. You have 27 days to stop them." Crix pressed another device into Elena's hands, this one smaller and more complex than the first. "This contains everything I was able to steal from their databases. Names, locations, communication protocols, and the location of their command center. Use it well." The wounded alien's breathing became more labored. Elena realized he was dying, probably from the energy weapon wounds that covered his body. Despite everything he had told her, despite the horrific revelations about his species, she found herself feeling sorry for him. In his final moments, Crix had chosen to help humanity rather than his own people. "Why help us?" Elena asked one final time. Crix smiled, an expression that looked strange on his alien features, but somehow conveyed genuine warmth. "Because in 30 years of watching humans, I learned something the Council refuses to accept. You are not the monsters they believe you to be. You are capable of incredible kindness, extraordinary courage, and unlimited growth. The universe is better with humans in it." Asterisk with those words, Crix closed his eyes and stopped breathing. Elena checked for vital signs, but there were none. Whatever alien physiology he possessed, It had finally given out. She said a silent prayer for the being who had sacrificed everything to warn humanity about the threat they faced. Elena stood up and looked at her team, who had been watching the entire exchange with a mixture of disbelief and growing anger. She knew they would need time to process what they had learned, but time was something they no longer had. "Sergeant Shun," she ordered, "I need you to establish a secure communication channel with command. We need to get this information to the highest levels immediately." "Ma'am," Shun replied, "with respect, who's going to believe this? Aliens living among us? A plan to wipe out humanity? It sounds like science fiction." Elena held up the quantum resonance detector. "This device can prove everything. We can identify the aliens in our own government, our own military. But we have to be careful. If Crix was telling the truth, then some of the people we trust most might be our enemies." She activated the detector again and expanded its range to maximum. The results were terrifying. The device showed alien signatures in major population centers around the world, concentrated in areas of political and economic power. Washington, D.C., London, Beijing, Moscow all showed multiple alien presences. But what worried Elena most was the signature she detected coming from their own command structure. According to the device, at least one high-ranking officer in their chain of command was not human. "We're on our own," Elena realized. "We can't trust anyone until we can. Scan them with this device. Our own government might be compromised." Private Foster, who had been unusually quiet during the entire encounter, finally spoke up. "Lieutenant, what do we do? How do we fight an enemy that can look like anyone, that has been controlling us for centuries?" Elena looked at each member of her team, seeing the fear and uncertainty in their eyes. But she also saw something else, something that Crix had recognized and valued in humanity. She saw determination, courage, and an absolute refusal to give up even when facing impossible odds. "We do what humans have always done when faced with extinction," Elena said firmly. "We fight, we adapt, we find a way to win." She began making plans immediately. They would need to create a resistance network, identify other humans they could trust, and find a way to expose the alien infiltration to the world. But first, they needed to test the quantum resonance detector on a known target. According to the data Crix had provided, there was a Minic operative located in the nearby city of Manaus, posing as a Brazilian government official. If they could successfully identify and confront this operative, it would prove that the technology worked and give them valuable intelligence about alien capabilities. The mission would be dangerous. They would be going up against an enemy with superior technology and centuries of experience in deception. But Elena had something the aliens didn't expect. She had a team of Marines who had just learned that their species was facing extinction. And there was nothing more dangerous than humans fighting for their survival. As they prepared to leave the crash site, Elena took one last look at Crix's body. Despite everything, she felt grateful to the alien who had chosen to help humanity in his final moments. His sacrifice would not be forgotten, and if humans survived this crisis, they would remember that not all aliens were their enemies. The war for Earth had begun, and humanity didn't even know they were fighting. But Elena Rodriguez and her team were about to change that. They were going to expose the truth, rally the human race, and show the Zenith Council why underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake they could make. 20-7 days to save the world. It would have to be enough. The final warning. Elena Rodriguez stood in the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of São Paulo, studying the faces of the 23 people gathered around her. In the 5 days since discovering the truth about the alien infiltration, her small resistance cell had grown into something much larger. Word had spread through secure channels, reaching other humans who had noticed strange patterns, unexplained deaths, and suspicious activities in their governments and Organizations. The quantum resonance detector had proven its worth repeatedly. They had successfully identified and confronted 7 mimic operatives across South America, each encounter teaching them more about their enemies' capabilities and weaknesses. The aliens were physically stronger and faster than humans, but they had grown overconfident after centuries of operating in secret. They weren't prepared for organized human resistance. Dr. Sarah Kim, a former NASA scientist whose research into faster-than-light communication had been mysteriously shut down, stepped forward with a tablet displaying global communication intercepts. She had joined the resistance after Elena's team had proven that her department head was actually an alien infiltrator who had been sabotaging human space exploration efforts for over 20 years. "The situation is worse than we initially thought," Dr. Kim announced. "Our monitoring stations have detected increased alien communication traffic worldwide. They're accelerating their timeline." Elena felt her stomach drop. They had been working under the assumption that they had 3 more weeks to expose the infiltration and prevent the final protocol. If the aliens were moving faster than expected, humanity might have even less time than Cricks had warned. Captain James Mitchell, a British SAS officer whose unit had been tracking unusual energy signatures across Europe, consulted his own intelligence reports. His weathered face showed the strain of the past few days, but his eyes burned with determination. "My contacts in London report that several key military and political figures have disappeared," Mitchell said. "Official explanations range from family emergencies to sudden illnesses, but the pattern is clear. The aliens are removing anyone who might interfere with their plans." Elena activated the quantum resonance detector and scanned the assembled group one more time. The device confirmed what she already knew. Everyone present was genuinely human, but the paranoia was necessary. The mimics had infiltrated human society so thoroughly that trust had become a luxury. They couldn't afford how many resistance cells are operational worldwide? Elena asked. Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka, a Japanese naval officer who had discovered alien infiltration in his country's defense ministry, consulted a secure communication device. 17 confirmed cells across 6 continents. Total personnel, approximately 400 humans. We've also established contact with several underground groups that have been investigating UFO phenomena and government conspiracies for decades. They're providing additional support and resources. The numbers were encouraging, but Elena knew they were still vastly outnumbered. 3,000 alien infiltrators with advanced technology and centuries of preparation, against 400 humans with limited resources and less than 3 weeks to save their species. Dr. Kim activated a holographic display showing a 3-dimensional map of the world. Red dots indicated confirmed alien positions, while blue dots showed resistance cells. The pattern was clear. The aliens had positioned themselves to control every major government, military, and scientific institution on Earth. We've identified the location of their primary command center, Dr. Kim announced. It's located beneath the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean, approximately 11 kilometers below sea level. Elena studied the display carefully. The alien command center was positioned in the deepest part of Earth's oceans, protected by crushing pressure and miles of water. It was the perfect location for a species that wanted to remain hidden while controlling the planet above. How do we reach it? Elena asked. Captain Mitchell smiled grimly. We don't, but we don't need to. According to the intelligence data your alien friend provided, the command center is managed by a single alien commander designated as Zix. This commander makes regular trips to the surface to coordinate with infiltrators in various governments. How regular? Once every 14 days. His next scheduled surface visit is in 48 hours at a secure facility in Antarctica. Elena felt a surge of hope. If they could capture the alien commander, they might be able to stop the final protocol or at least delay it long enough to fully expose the infiltration to the world's human population. But first, they needed to deal with a more immediate problem. The quantum resonance detector had identified a major alien presence converging on their location. The mimics had found them. "We've got company," Elena announced, checking the device's readings. 12 alien signatures approaching from multiple directions. "They'll be here in less than 10 minutes. The assembled resistance members immediately began preparing for battle. They had learned from previous encounters that sonic weapons were effective against the aliens' shape-shifting abilities, forcing them to maintain solid forms that could be injured or killed. Each cell had improvised sonic weapons using modified industrial equipment and military-grade sound generators. Elena assigned defensive positions throughout the warehouse, while Dr. Kim worked to evacuate the critical intelligence data. Everything they had learned about the alien infiltration was stored in portable devices that needed to be preserved even if the resistance cell was destroyed. The first mimic arrived exactly 9 minutes later, bursting through the warehouse's main entrance in its true form. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, with elongated limbs and skin that shifted between different textures and colors. Its face was a blank mask that could reshape itself into any human features within seconds. Elena opened fire with her sonic weapon, the focused sound waves causing the alien's unstable form to solidify and crack. The creature screamed, a sound that seemed to come from multiple throats at once, and stumbled backward. More aliens poured through windows and side entrances, forcing the humans to fight on multiple fronts. The battle was intense but brief. The resistance members had learned to work together, coordinating their sonic attacks to overwhelm the aliens. Regenerative abilities. When the last mimic fell, Elena surveyed the warehouse. They had lost 3 people, brave humans who had given their lives to protect the intelligence that might save their species. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. "We need to move," Elena ordered. "This location is compromised, and there will be more coming." As they evacuated to a backup facility, Elena made a decision that would change the course of human history. Instead of continuing to fight from the shadows, they would take the war directly to the enemy, and they would make sure the entire world knew the truth. "Dr. Kim," Elena said, "I need you to prepare a global broadcast. We're going to tell everyone on Earth exactly what we're facing." "The aliens will try to stop us," Dr. Kim warned. "They control most of the world's communication systems. Ben will use the systems they don't control. Ham radio operators, satellite uplinks, internet platforms, emergency broadcast systems. We'll use everything." Captain Mitchell nodded approvingly. "A coordinated information warfare campaign. Hit them so hard and from so many directions that they can't suppress it all." Elena felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. In the next few hours, she would either save humanity or doom it to extinction. There was no middle. The global broadcast began at 0000 UTC, transmitted simultaneously across every available communication channel. Elena stood before a camera in a secure facility, flanked by resistance leaders from around the world. Behind her, the quantum resonance detector displayed real-time scans showing alien infiltrators in government buildings worldwide. "My name is Lieutenant Elena Rodriguez, United States Marine Corps," she began, her voice steady, despite the magnitude of what she was about to reveal. "I am speaking to you now because humanity faces the greatest threat in its history, and you deserve to know the truth." She held up the quantum resonance detector, its alien crystalline structure gleaming under the studio lights. "This device was given to me by a dying alien who chose to help humanity rather than participate in our destruction. For over 400 years, a species calling itself the Zenith Council has been living among us, disguised as humans, controlling our governments, our militaries, and our scientific institutions. Around the world, television broadcasts were interrupted, internet streams hijacked, and emergency systems activated as the resistance simultaneously transmitted their message through thousands of channels. The aliens' attempts to block the transmissions were overwhelmed by the sheer volume and diversity of the broadcast network. Elena continued. These aliens, who call themselves mimics, have been systematically eliminating human innovators and leaders who might threaten their control. Every suspicious accident, every unexplained death of a brilliant scientist or visionary leader, every time promising research was mysteriously defunded. It was all part of their plan to keep humanity weak and dependent. On screens around the world, the quantum resonance detector's readings showed alien signatures in the White House, the Kremlin, Downing Street, and dozens of other government buildings. The evidence was undeniable and terrifying. But their patience has run out, Elena announced. 22 days ago, the Zenith Council voted to implement what they call the final protocol, the complete elimination of the human species. Plan to release a biological weapon that will kill every man, woman, and child on Earth. The reaction was immediate and global. Panic spread through major cities as people demanded answers from their governments. Military units worldwide began using improvised detection methods to identify alien infiltrators in their ranks. Scientists who had suspected their research was being suppressed came forward with evidence of systematic sabotage. Elena looked directly into the camera, her eyes blazing with determination. But I have a message for the Zenith Council, and I want to make sure they hear it clearly. She stood up, her military bearing evident in every line of her body. You have underestimated humanity. You think you know us because you've been watching US for centuries, but you've only seen us in chains of your own making. You've never seen what humans can do when we're truly free, when we're fighting for our survival, when we're united by a common cause. Around the world, humans were proving her point. Governments were being stormed by citizens demanding the removal of suspected alien infiltrators. Military units were conducting their own purges, using everything from polygraph tests to behavioral analysis to identify mimics. Scientists were sharing suppressed research, revealing technologies that had been hidden for decades. You made one crucial mistake, Elena continued, her voice growing stronger. You assumed that because you could control our leaders, you could control humanity itself. But human strength doesn't come from our governments or our institutions. It comes from ordinary people who refuse to give up, who will fight impossible odds, who will sacrifice everything to protect their children and their future. The quantum resonance detector in her hands began pulsing with increased activity. Elena smiled grimly as she realized what was happening. The aliens were abandoning their human disguises worldwide, retreating to their hidden facilities as their centuries-old infiltration collapsed around them. This is humanity's final warning to the Zenith Council, Elena declared. Leave our world, now or face the consequences. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when pushed to the brink of extinction. You're about to find out. The broadcast ended, but the real war was just beginning. Across the globe, humans were rising up against their hidden oppressors. The mimics, exposed and outnumbered, found themselves fighting a species they had never truly understood. In the weeks that followed, humanity would prove Elena's words prophetic. United by the knowledge of their shared enemy, humans demonstrated levels of cooperation, ingenuity, and determination that surprised even themselves. The aliens' superior technology proved useless against the sheer unpredictability and resourcefulness of an aroused human population. The final protocol was never implemented. Within 30 days, the surviving mimics had fled Earth, their invasion, force broken by a species they had thought they controlled. The Zenith Council learned what countless enemies throughout human history had discovered, that humanity was at its most dangerous when when it had nothing left to lose. Asterisk Elena Rodriguez became a symbol of human resistance. But she knew the truth. Humanity had saved itself. She had simply given them the information they needed to fight back. The real heroes were the billions of ordinary humans who had stood up when their species faced extinction. As she stood on the deck of a recovered alien vessel, watching the last of the mimic ships disappear into the depths of space, Helena thought about Crix's final words. The universe was indeed better with humans in it, and now the rest of the galaxy would learn what the Zenith Council had discovered too late. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight, they would adapt, and they would never surrender. The stars themselves would learn to respect the species that had turned certain extinction into ultimate victory. Earth was no longer forbiddens. It belonged to humanity, and they would defend it against any threat the universe could offer.